Fantasy Show. I'm your host, Chris Miles, alongside our fantasy experts, Tom Vecchio, Tim Doyle, and three New Yorkers. So you know we've had a block party or two in our lives. Doyle, what's your favorite block party moment growing up in Long Island?
Oh, come on. Get out the fire hydrant. Get that dirty water going everywhere. And where's my Cisco CD? All right, that's the music I was listening to back in the day. Maybe I'm showing my age a little bit, but this block party, it's about to take off.
Well, we got two stars on this show on the Cisco level, and you two to get your lineups right, starting with Wednesday, April 21st. That's the big day because we have 12 games on that slate, starting at 7 o'clock with the Bulls and the Cavs and finishing at 10 with the Nuggets and the Blazers. Here's how the contest works. The more blocks your lineups get, the more points you get in the block party. Enter as many of the featured NBA shot contests as you want for a chance to win $50,000 in prizes. FanDuel will add together your top three shot lineups with the most blocks to get your combined overall score. Must be three different NBA shot contests, so 3 different days. The top 1,600 players at the end of the block party will receive a bonus on top of what you win in the regular contest payouts. They end on April 28th. So with that in mind, let's see how Tim and Tom are doing with their lineups. Tom, let's start with you.
Yeah, we're always looking to add some blocks to your lineups, bringing you that fantasy upside. You know, looking to add in multiple players that can get it done in the blocking category. And I went all over the place. You know, we want some guards that are known for their defense. We want some, players that are known for their, some big men that are known for their defense, like Chris Boucher in the top 5 of the league when it comes to average blocks per game. But also looking at someone like Isaiah Stewart from Detroit, simply because he's out there for so many minutes now. Detroit going with their youth movement. We want players that can fill the stat sheet and are playing plenty of minutes. But really, Chris Boucher is the player that I'm focusing in on because Aaron Baines isn't in the rotation. The Raptors are resting Pascal Siakam, so we're looking at plenty of minutes for Chris Boucher. And then even adding a player like Miles Bridges in there, a 3-and-D guy that can get it done from outside, that can add in the defense for the Suns. Really a well-rounded lineup.
Yeah, I love it. Boucher had those back-to-back games where he had 4 blocks in each of them. If you get a week like that, that could lead to victory. All right, Doyle, it's going to be tough to top that. Let me see your lineup.
Yeah, I mean, similar strategy. Okay, you want guys that are athletic. You want long guys out on the wings. I never put Mike Conley in my lineup, okay? And here's why. He was a freshman at Ohio State when I was a senior at Northwestern. And at one time in the NBA, he was the highest paid player in the NBA. And Chris, I'm sitting in my mom's basement right now. Where did it all go wrong for me? All right, so Conley didn't make my lineup, but Ja Morant did. Why? Because Ja Morant is so good from an athletic standpoint. He's also unselfish, makes other guys better. Murray is really good defensively. Anunoby, you see a theme here with length. LeVert's got great length. Allen's, his minutes and his usage have been way up. Lou Dort has become the primary option on OKC. And then you got Clint Capella, who's blocking over 2 shots a game. And if you don't know Daniel Gafford's name, learn it now. And look at that value, $3,800. Oh, I am all over that.
Yeah, you know what? I want to follow up on Gafford there because here's a guy that wasn't playing in Chicago, goes to the Wizards, and he's a huge part of what they're doing. Also, Doyle, don't be a hater on Mike Conley because his bank account's better than yours, right? That's not what we do on this show. It's all love here. But speak more to Gafford, who's been absolutely amazing. And I believe the Wizards have just a single loss with him in a lineup.
Yeah, the Bulls drafted him originally, and the big thing with him was his motor. He had a tough time staying on the floor. Now in Washington, the minutes are up, the usage is up, and fantasy-wise, you want to see your player out on the floor. He had a 2-game stretch there where he had 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 blocks in each game. And value-wise, I think he's must-play at $3,800, but you want to see him on the floor. It's not like he's going to get 32 minutes. He's hovering right around 20 minutes a game, but the fact that he's improved his conditioning, Chris is going to be on the floor.
All right, time for our Blockbuster. I like that. Get it? Blockbuster guys of the night, your stars. Tom, let's start with you on this one. Who you got?
I'm going back to Chris Boucher for the Raptors. You know, they're dealing with injuries. Van Fleet was in and out of the lineup. He was suspended. Lowry is in and out of the lineup. And I'm not going to say they're tanking, but they're certainly building for the future. And this is why we see a ton of role players out there. So if Chris Boucher, a player that's taken a very nice step forward this season, is going to continue to be their starting center or starting power forward alongside Khem Birch, who they recently acquired, I'm going to be looking to Chris Boucher time and time again, not only for his blocks, but his 20 and 10 potential on a nightly basis.
Around the way, they call me Chris Boucher, knocking shots out of the way, baby. I love it. I love it. Fifth in the league in blocks per game at just a hair under 2 per game, but he's been getting those minutes up. So you're right, a guy trending in the right direction. Okay, Doyle, don't get overdone here. Let's see who you got.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Clint Capella. He's got the little blonde in the fro now. It's looking good, and he's performing at a wildly high level. Plus, you got to love the nickname, too. Swiss Bank. That's right. When you sign a 5-year, $90 million deal, you got a lot to live up to. And he has exceptional timing. Really came to the forefront with the Rockets in that pick-and-roll scenario when Harden was always throwing him alley-oops. Now it's really monster performance after monster performance. He's averaging a career high in blocks, over 2 a game. And just ask the Indiana Pacers, he gave them 25 points, 24 rebounds, and 3 blocks in that game. Another thing to look for that I zero in on is pace. The Hawks, they like to play really fast, top 10 in pace and offensive efficiency. So you're going to get a lot of possessions, and Capella out there has been dominating, maybe even better than expected, having a career year and living up to that nickname. We're talking money here. I'm not hating on Mike Conley. He got paid. Good.
And our block party continues. To everyone watching this show, we're trying to get you ready for our contest. You know, Tim Doyle, Tom Vecchio, they're our experts. So let's go over the rules one more time. Here's how the contest works. The more blocks your lineups get, the more points you get in the block party. Remember, it runs through April 28th. So you have 3 lineups to get in during that time span to win as much as $50,000 in prizes. FanDuel will add together your top 3 shot lineups with the most blocks to get your combined overall score. Must be 3 different NBA shot contests, so 3 different days. Again, the top 1,600 players at the end of the block party on April 28th will receive a bonus on top of what you win in your regular contest payouts. So with that in mind, let's continue to look at these guys' lineups, and it's the building blocks that we're focused on now. So Tom, I'll go with you first on this. The building blocks are the 3 guys that are must-haves and however you build your lineups. So who are your guys?
Yeah, so starting off, always looking to a player like Bam Adebayo. Not only can he get it done from the defensive end, but the offense has been there recently for him, averaging a double-double on most nights, pushing towards 20-plus real points, adding in sometimes 15-plus rebounds. And with Oladipo still as a lineup for the Heat, we're going to need more offensive contribution from him. And then a player like Rocco, a player that is averaging over 1 block per game this season. And we know that Trailblazers don't play a whole lot of defense, so the back and forth pace is there for them on every single game, seemingly 130 to 125 on whether they win or lose. So a player that can certainly fill up a stat sheet, get it done from multiple categories. And then Tobias Harris, a player that got snubbed from the All-Star roster this year and is getting it done at 20-plus points, can add in some defense, goes along with that 76ers mentality. I love going to Tobias Harris on a nightly basis. Add in some defense from Rob Covington, and then you take the consistency there with Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, and just a reminder to all the viewers out there, you see the QR code on your screen. You can just click that, and that will help you to get your lineups together. So look at that QR code, go there, and get your lineups right. Okay, looking at yours, Doyle, now. Who are your 3 building blocks?
Yeah, I love the Robert Covington pick. It's amazing that he averages over 1 block a game. But you got to put Draymond Green up on your roster. I have like Newman moments from Seinfeld when I watch Draymond Green, because he's the type of guy you want on your team, and when you play against him, you're like, Newman or Draymond, because he's always grabbing rebounds, blocking shots, obviously dropping dimes, and that chemistry that him and Steph Curry have is remarkable on the offensive end. Plus, the Warriors are playing with amazing pace right now. Ton of possessions, high-scoring games. Karis LeVert, here's why I zeroed in on him. Obviously, he has that ability with the long arms to be a great defender, but the Pacers are going up and down. Also, side note, great to see Karis LeVert back on the floor. And there he is, Daniel Gafford. This has been the Daniel Gafford show. The pick out of Arkansas didn't live up to that first-round hype in Chicago, but he has been remarkable. And the Wizards, they may not win a lot of games, but they are fun to watch. They score a lot of points. They go up and down. It's either Westbrook having a triple-double, Bradley Beal dropping 40, or Gafford, who's had not 1, but 2 games where he's had 4 blocks in each game. He is really finding his rhythm, finding his spot in D.C. Chris, you got some D.C. roots. Is he going to be a good fit for the Wizards?
Sure looks like it. I mean, they're winning with him in the lineup, Doyle. That seems to be the way that it's operating. But if you're trying to win with your lineups, I don't see it if you don't have the best, right? We know why Miles Turner is missing. The top shot blocker in the NBA is out with a partial tear in the plantar plate in his right foot and one of his toes. But what about Rudy Gobert? Why is he missing from both of your lineups? You got to explain this to me, Doyle. He has the highest shot blocking average of anybody available.
Tom, I got no good reason. You got to put Rudy Gobert out there. He has certainly been an anchor. But when you think Utah, traditionally, Tom, you thought of defense. Now I think of offense.
Yeah, they're certainly scoring a ton of threes. And when it comes to me, I'm always looking for a center that has that scoring upside. That's why I want a player like Bam Adebayo, paying up for Jokic, paying up for Embiid. Gobert doesn't necessarily bring a whole lot of offense, but I want the offense first when it comes to a center.
Maybe I'm going to make you guys eat your words, but a guy who never eats his words always.
The effect of that game tomorrow night against the Bucks when he's filling out his lineup card tonight.
I would like to win. So wherever you can get that win, you want to take the win, not saying we would win if we played everybody tonight or tomorrow. But, I guess the incentive when you look at the Milwaukee situation is, if you win tomorrow, you have a chance to play for the season series. But if guys are not healthy, there's nothing you can do about it.
Philadelphia lost on Monday night against Golden State without Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris in the lineup. We still haven't seen the lineup tonight, but as you can see, they have a half-game lead now in the Brooklyn Nets at 39-18. Zeke, what kind of a case is there that Philly is the team best equipped to win the Eastern Conference this year?
I think with Embiid back and Embiid healthy, it gives them, in my opinion, the style of play that can really compete against anybody in the East, especially when you're talking about Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Because Embiid, what he does is he gets you to the foul line 11 times a night. That gives you a chance to set your defense, mat, 3D. So consequently, you eliminate a lot of transition baskets. He's playing closer to the basket. He's getting people in foul trouble. You're getting your team earlier into the bonus. And now that frees up open looks for everyone else out on the perimeter. They got good ball movement. Tobias Harris is playing well. They got potentially the defensive player of the year. And Doc Rivers is doing one of the best coaching jobs that I think he's done in years. I think he's motivated again. I think the way he left the Clippers didn't sit well with him. He's got this Philadelphia team believing that they can win. They're playing well. They're moving the basketball. And Embiid is an MVP candidate.
Of course, Embiid missed 18 games. I don't know how voters will view that when they consider what to me is just a really wide open MVP race this season. But he has been on a tear when he's been out on the floor this year. Almost all the counting numbers and the advanced numbers are up from previous seasons. In your mind, what's been the biggest difference for him this year?
Well, I think to tap in what Zeke's talking about is being in attack mode all game long. Where before we thought he took too many threes, where now he's taking threes in the flow of the offense, where he's getting big-time defensive rebounds. They're pushing the secondary break. They don't have it. He's the trailing five. He steps into that three. Doc's allowing that. Doc doesn't like that three where at the start of the offense, he catches it early with the shot clock with 18, 19 seconds, taking that early three. Doc says, no, I don't want that three. Then last but not least, when he gets into the post and he's attacking his man, you have to double team him. So my big question, Matt, that you ask Zeke is, can these role players make shots when the lights get bright? When it's time to get out of that semifinal round to get in the Eastern Conference Finals, can the Steph Currys of the world, can the Korkmaz of the world, can these guys really make shots? Because to Zeke's point, yes, Embiid's playing like an MVP. So when you get to the playoffs, you get double teamed more. The game slows down more. Yeah. That's when the role players have to make their contributions in making shots.
Well, to me, Embiid is the one guy in the Eastern Conference, no disrespect to any of the stars in the Brooklyn Nets, but the one guy in the Eastern Conference that other teams are actively acquiring players to worry about in a playoff series. And you're talking about the waiver guys, the buyout guys, the trade deadline. They're thinking we need another big because we may have to face Philadelphia in the postseason. By the way, reporting we're hearing now is that both Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris will be out of the lineup again tonight for the 76ers. But when they're in there, well, Philly is the number 2 defense in the league this season when they have all their parts Zeke, how disruptive is this 76er group on that end of the floor?
Well, they're very disruptive, and as you pointed out, the success that they've had on the defensive end this year. Embiid protects the basket. He's not a great pick and roll player, but Simmons and Embiid, when they're out on the floor, they have length. Tobias Harris has length. They can stretch the floor not only with their offense, but they can stretch the floor defensively with their length. Danny Green is a very underrated defender, one of the smarter defensive players in the league. So I really like their defensive unit. I like their defensive mindset. And it goes right along with their style of play. They're a physical, aggressive team inside on the offensive side, and defensively, they're a physical, aggressive team defensively.
I know Steph Curry torched them the other night, but if you saw, there was a one-on-one possession where Curry tried to get around Joel Embiid, and he wound up swatting it out of bounds. He's such an athlete at his size. Ben Simmons may well wind up the Defensive Player of the Year. Matisse Thybulle is an elite on-ball defender as well. I mean, this is such an offensive-minded league right now, but Philadelphia is one of those teams whose defense is clearly better than their offense, and that could carry them as far as the NBA Finals.
Well, I think, Matt, when you get to being who you are, and I think they understand that, but with Doc being who he is, he understands you have to play enough defense to win a championship, just like the Lakers did last year, right? Their role players making shots. But I think with Ben Simmons leading the way, with a lot of people being Defensive Player of the Year, you talk about Thybulle, you have enough defensive-minded guys when it's time to lock down and get that big stop you need to get over a hump. They have it. I just go back to now when Embiid gets double-teamed or Ben Simmons is hid in the corner, Tobias Harris, are you ready to carry the team for a game or two with your offensive end because defensively you'll be there as a team? If they do little things like that, I don't think too many people would be surprised if they're the Eastern Conference champs.
Kind of a middle-of-the-pack offensive team, but Daryl Morey, who was hired back in early November, has made his imprint on this team with what else but three-point shooters. You know that from his Houston days. That's what he wants out there. He's brought in Danny Green. He's brought in Seth Curry. He's now brought in George Hill, who made his debut on Monday night. Tobias Harris obviously can shoot the three as well. Does Philadelphia spread it out enough offensively to get them all the way to the promised land?
They spread it out in different ways. They don't have that point guard that's doing a lot of draw and kick. It's really off of Ben Simmons post up from time to time when he's drawing, or should I say when he's driving, when Tobias Harris is in that mid post, but he doesn't get double teamed a lot. It really depends on what Embiid does down low when he gets double teamed. Now, bringing in George Hill, I think, will help out some facilitating late shot clock situations because they didn't have a guy for that. But I think Doc will figure out different sets to get them going offensively when the playoffs get closer.
What do you think, Zeke? How do you like this Philly team as an offense suited for the playoffs?
I love it because it's perfectly built for the playoffs. And I think Morey learned a lot from his Houston days coming to Philadelphia and putting the three-point shooters around. But he's got a different kind of center now in Embiid. And I think he's understanding that penetration with the basketball from the perimeter, yes, it draws a double team. Also, when you pass the ball into the paint and you got a big center who can score, that draws the same kind of double team. Mm-hmm. So you can either penetrate the basketball off the dribble into the paint, or you can pass it into the paint. When you pass it into the paint, that saves less time, gives the perimeter players more opportunity and better spacing to shoot. When you dribble, you're dribbling out the clock.
Yeah, sorry, I think it was Phil Jackson, and maybe I'm getting this wrong, who said that that's the first penetration is a post-entry pass as opposed to dribbling in there. There are different ways to get it done. Philly and the Phoenix Suns coming up.
He was the modern day coach who said it.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody else said it before him.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I was saying. I probably didn't have the origins of that right, but I know he said it. You take a live look in Philadelphia. Good one tonight here on NBA TV. You'll see the 76ers tomorrow night as well on TNT. Continue a 5-game trip tonight in Philadelphia right here on NBA TV. They won in Milwaukee on Monday to sweep the Bucks. Now, the last time the Suns reached the postseason was 2010 under Alvin Gentry. Steve Kerr was running the team back then. That was the Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire days. Yeah. How long ago has it been? there are only 3 players remaining from that roster still active in the NBA.
Wow.
It's been a little while, but they're coming back now. And, you know, they had the momentum of the bubble last year, obviously going 8-0, and then added Chris Paul, who may be entering, as a long shot, the conversation for most valuable player, considering his impact on these teams. Now, Zeke, his numbers, his counting numbers, are not going to compare to someone like Joel Embiid, for instance. But when you consider the impact and understanding that there is no criteria for MVP, it's whoever you want to pick, what's the argument for CP3 as a most valuable player candidate?
You know, Matt, I made this argument my whole NBA career, and now I'll make it again. You know, for smaller players at the guard position, the criteria, you know, really doesn't favor us because if we want to win basketball games, we have to play outside of the intelligence that we bring to the floor as point guards in terms of controlling tempo, making sure that everything is done out on the floor correctly. And there's no measurement for that. There's no criteria for that. The only measurement for it is the impact you have on winning. How many games you win, how many games you lose. In football, the quarterback gets that measurement, right? And in basketball, the point guard, in terms of winning, he doesn't receive that. Chris Paul, his impact is undeniable. Wherever he's gone, he impacts winning, and he impacts winning significantly. However, the way we measure winning, the way we measure today, there's no criteria that says winning matters. As a matter of fact, we've devalued winning, and we've devalued championship and winning in the same breath. So what we do now is it's all about the numbers. How many numbers you can get, and damn it, if you win or if you win a championship, that really doesn't matter. And Chris Paul, in my mind, is having an MVP season.
He's been incredible, and the impact is obvious for a Suns team that wasn't in the postseason last year, now has a chance to be potentially the #1 seed in the Western Conference. How valuable, there's that word, has Chris Paul been to this team?
He's been super valuable, and I go all the way up to start with Monty Williams as well. Starting with Monty, changing the culture, getting Devin Booker to play two-way. Now that's the question. He's an all-star. Then you bring in Chris Paul with his leadership. Across the hall, Charles Barkley says it every week, the best leader in basketball, right? He's proven it once again. And Zeke, I agree with you. Sometimes today's game, we get caught up in the numbers, the athleticism and all that type of stuff, which is great. But Chris Paul has proven once again he's coming in with a bunch of young guys. And you know the history is, hey, Chris Paul, over time, you get tired of hearing all the talk. Well,
sure.
It hasn't happened in Phoenix. Now the bigger question is, Zeke, all the naysayers, can this be the year where Chris Paul finally gets to the finals? Because everywhere he's been, he's changed the culture, he's won more games, he's done good things, but he hadn't gotten out of the second round. And the Houston Rockets, he's a hamstring away, a game 7 away, getting over the Golden State Warriors. That, in my opinion, is what the naysayers are hanging on versus what is he doing now, what is he doing this season. He's very valuable and very impactful.
Well, to Zeke's point, if you can get past the numbers, and some of his numbers are great, they just don't hold up in terms of scoring average, for instance, against some of the other MVP candidates out there. If you can get past that and just look at the impact, it's pretty undeniable.
Conversation.
I do think it would be a lot to ask for a team that hasn't been to the postseason in 10 years to make the NBA Finals, but
Matt,
you never know.
Right, you never know, but that is the conversation in the basketball world. We love Chris Paul. He's a great leader. He's done this. But what has he won? And I think that's what Zeke's getting at is championships important, or is it about the numbers? Is it about winning? I know right now, today, in today's present time, the Phoenix Suns is playing lights out basketball, and Chris Paul is one of the main impactful, valuable reasons why they're doing that.
And they've been great defensively. They've been good at the ends of games as well, so anything is certainly possible. Whether it's Paul's presence, maybe the progression of the young guys as well, some of that maybe the momentum from last year in the bubble. What to you has been most responsible for this elevation in play that Phoenix has had?
I think believing in what they're doing, Matt. I think people have to understand when you start getting that next level of winning consistent basketball, believing in the defensive structure that Monty Williams is putting in, I think they really believe it. Now, outside of Phoenix, most people don't. Just like outside of Utah, most people don't think they're going to do anything significant in the playoffs. So it's up to Phoenix, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Monty Williams. Your guys continue to lead like they've shown us this year and improved us. What you've done in the regular season won the fluke.
Zeke, typically teams that win conference titles, that win NBA titles, are great at least one thing. What are the Suns great at?
They're great at being a good basketball team, Matt, in terms of both sides of the ball. Offensively, they're solid. They got Booker who can score. They got Paul who can create shots. And defensively, their defensive schemes and rotations, they're very disciplined. They play well together on the road and also at home. And, you know, too many times we look at who has the best talent, not necessarily who has the best team. And having the best talent is totally different than having the best team. And I can make the argument that in the West right now, Utah and Phoenix, they have the best teams, but they may not have the best individual talent.
Yep, I think that's fair. And you're looking at DeAndre Ayton right now, who, remember, was a number 1 overall pick. He had 20 and 13 Monday in the win over Milwaukee. What strikes you about his development with his Suns team now winning, Zeke?
Well, what I like about him is he's found exactly what he can and can't do, and he's settled into it. And I think Chris Paul has helped him tremendously by having a point guard that can distribute and get him easy baskets. So when he looks at his field goal percentage, he sees a high field goal percentage that he's shooting, and therefore he can feel more confident out on the floor. Defensively, he's protecting the rim, he's rebounding, and he knows his role. I mean, Matt, we talk about the game that the Suns won in Milwaukee the other night. Okay, Bridges hits the shot from the corner, but the guy who set the screen that allowed Bridges to be wide open in the corner was the guy that we was just looking at on the screen.
Yep.
Those little things are the things that makes a difference between winning and losing. And Channing Frye and I was talking the other night. Those are winning basketball plays that no one will ever, put down on the stat sheet. But that was probably the most important screen set in the game that got Bridges open in the corner for the three.
He's really excelling in his lane, as we say, and taking about 80% of his shots within 10 feet of the rim. He's not a center who's going to spend a lot of time out at the three. He's going to do what they need him to do, and it's working for the Phoenix Suns. Got that coming up. Oh, and Steph Curry's playing again tonight.
Who?
Oh.
Who is he?
Yeah, buckle up.
Huh?